Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rachel Arfa, and I am the Commissioner for the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. And I'm so thrilled to welcome you here today to our city's first celebration of Global Accessibility Awareness Day. The city of Chicago is so proud to join in this international celebration of Global Accessibility Awareness Day to raise awareness about the importance of digital accessibility and inclusion. I don't stand up here alone. I'm proudly joined here by Mayor Lightfoot. And I'm also joined here by my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Biaggi, Kanazi of the Department of Family and Support Services, and also Commissioner Biaggi of the Chicago Department of Transportation, and Commissioner Ian Hunky of the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. You will hear from each of them today, whether you're here in person or you're watching our live stream. And I also want to thank my team here at the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities for making this event such a success. A lot of hard work went into this, so thank you. We'll give them a round of applause. Today, we spent some time talking about digital accessibility. And this morning, you've heard from a number of our panelists who are user experts share about digital accessibility, including Peter Burke, who is the ADA coordinator at UIC, Evelyn Cleolian, who's a librarian at the Chicago Public Library, and Ned Williams and Adi Rich, who work with advantage and accessibility for people with intellectual developmental disabilities. And each of them this morning provided such valuable insights about what digital access means. Digital access means making sure that the internet is accessible for those who use screen reader and making sure materials are available in alternate formats. It is also making sure to add captioning and American Sign Language interpretation so that the content is accessible. It is also using tools such as social stories and play language to make sure the content is accessible to anyone, and making sure that there are modifications for people who have mobility disabilities to access all of the content. And thank you to our panel for sharing best practices. Here at the city, we use those best practices every day as we work together to make the internet and digital materials more accessible. And that work happens across different departments, including all of the departments that are represented here. This was especially important during the pandemic, where we relied even more than ever on digital materials for information and through a connection with one another. And we learned some lessons from the pandemic that we continue to implement in this ongoing pandemic. One example that I am pleased to announce is that we are hiring a digital accessibility specialist, which will be part of the city's IT department with support from the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. I hope that you will stop by our table to learn more. Please look up the position at the City of Chicago's Human Resources page under jobs. We would love to have your expertise here at the city. This position will have a crucial role in continuing our work on digital accessibility. So today we are here to talk about digital accessibility and inclusion. But as we talk about disability, we must also take this time to celebrate disability and the lived experience of having a disability. I encourage you to stay after our program for a dance performance by Reinventability, which is a group led by Teacher Lane and the Data Freedom, who are here today. They are creating a performance that will help us to celebrate disability. What it means every day to live with a disability. And I live every day with a disability as someone who is profoundly deaf. Many of us here in the room have a disability, or know someone with a disability, or some people with disabilities. And every day, I am so privileged to work for a champion for accessibility, Mayor Lightfoot here. Here at the city, we apply an equity lens to all of our work. It takes the Mayor Lightfoot's leadership. That lens includes disability. In my work as commissioner, is possible because of Mayor Lightfoot's leadership. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Lightfoot.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all so much for being here. I'm excited to be here today to acknowledge and celebrate Global Accessibility Awareness Day. As you heard, Commissioner Arfa has done tremendous things in her tenure as the Commissioner for the Mayor's Office with people with disabilities, and really, I think, has made sure not only are we compliant with the law, but has also done a tremendous amount to really prick all of our consciousness to make sure that we are making sure that people living with disabilities are part of what we talk about when we talk about equity and inclusion. So, Commissioner Arfa, thank you so much for everything that you've done. I also want to thank and recognize the representatives from various organizations across our great city who every single day are on the front lines making sure that residents with disabilities are able to live a meaningful and fulfilled life, and making sure also that our residents understand what their rights are as disabled members of our community. So thank you to the organizations that are here. Global Accessibility Awareness Day provides us with an important opportunity to honor technological advances that have increased accessibility for people with disabilities, while simultaneously recognizing the need to continue technology that increases digital accessibility. For far too long, people with disabilities have been disproportionately impacted by the digital divide and a chronic lack of accessible technology. This has created and deepened gaps in education, employment, healthcare, and just quality of life. The need for greater digital accessibility was greatly amplified by the pandemic, as we all knew. The internet has indeed helped to make some resources more accessible for people with disabilities during the pandemic. However, some, not all. We cannot stop our digital accessibility work until everyone, all of our people with disabilities, have full, unrestricted access to apps, websites, communications, the things that we all in the abled world take for granted. We need to make sure that these resources, these tools for basic connectivity and communication are available to all members of our community living with disabilities, pandemic or not. In the 21st century, digital access can no longer be considered a luxury. It's a necessity for basic living. Make no mistake, the gaps that we continue to see in digital equity are not new. Rather, they stem from income disparities and systemic discrimination in areas of the nation that have limited access to equitable community resources and services. That cannot be a thing in a wealthy city like Chicago. Now, we have taken a number of steps to shrink that digital divide, and let me share a few with you. For example, 2 years ago, during the height of the pandemic, we launched Chicago Connected, which provides fast and free high-speed internet for CPS students in need and their families. And let me emphasize again, it is free. This first-of-its-kind program in the nation is one of the largest efforts by any city to provide internet access for students and their families and is the result of the partnership of businesses, community groups, our governmental entities, and of course, generous philanthropic contributors. To date, approximately 40,000 families are enrolled in a program which ultimately helps to eliminate digital barriers for our city's low-income families and students of color. My office has also established the Chicago Digital Equity Council, a cross-sector, community-driven effort to understand and tackle the nuanced barriers to digital equity, as well as close the digital divide for everyone once and for all. This council is led by a group of community leaders, community-based organizations, governmental entities, and digital equity subject matter experts. This cross-sector leadership group is working to reimagine the relationships between people, programs, and organizations so we can achieve systemic change. And importantly, is seeking input from people with disabilities on how we make sure digital accessibility works for you. With representation from communities all across our city, this council ensures that residents that are the most burdened by the digital divide are at the decision-making table at the beginning of our discussions. Over the next 6 months, the Digital Equity Council will be hosting a series of community conversations in neighborhoods most impacted by the digital divide. And I strongly encourage all of you to participate in these conversations and share your insights, your lived experience with our team. We want to make sure that we get this right for you. And the only way that we'll be able to do that is by coming into community, talking with you, and you sharing out what your challenges are, what your pain points are every single day. We want to be the city that closes the digital divide for all of our residents, but in particular, those who have been shut out for way too long, including people living with disabilities. Now, as part of this effort, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities is hosting an engagement session in June that I hope you'll participate in. In the meantime, our city will continue to uplift and celebrate people with disabilities, including performers with disabilities on our stage and in our audiences. That's why I'm excited for all of us to see this afternoon's performance by Reinventability, an adaptive dance group that celebrates disability. I'm also excited to announce that a mural will be added to the side of this building. The mural will be designed by artist Sam Kirk and will feature input from community engagement sessions that will help inform and create a new visual narrative that represents all the communities who are served through MOPD, this MOPD field office. There is a lot of work to be done, but I'm confident that by working together, by recognizing and respecting each other as neighbors, as brothers and sisters, that we will continue to see significant progress. I just also want to say this on a personal note. This work is very important to me. Some of you know that my father was a deaf man, and I watched my whole growing up years how he struggled to fit in and feel connected. It's part of what made me want to be a lawyer, to be able to advocate for people that are locked out, who are left alone, and not feeling part of a family, a community, or a city. So this work is deeply personal to me. So I want to thank all of you who are in this fight and using your voices and your platform to lift up the people that are in need. But I also want to speak directly to those of you living with disabilities. It's hard. It feels isolating at times. I know that firsthand. I'm also a person who lives with pretty severe hearing loss. And I just want to make sure that you understand that we hear you, we see you, and importantly, we embrace you. And that we're going to be a city government that does everything that we can to make sure that everybody feels their place, that they feel loved and supported, and encouraged by everything that we do. So our efforts at outreach and engagement are coming from the heart. They are sincere. And I encourage you to be a part of these important conversations because they're very, very meaningful to me personally. So with that, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Kanazi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for that heartfelt message, and thank you, Commissioner Arfa, for bringing us together today at our joint Central West Senior Center and MOPD field office. I'm Brandy Kanazi, and it is my privilege and honor to lead the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services. Our department manages 21 senior centers across the city, including 6 regional centers and 15 satellite centers that support older adults and people with disabilities. Today, I'm excited to celebrate the Global Accessibility Awareness Day alongside the Mayor's Office with People with Disabilities. We have a long history of working together that spans almost 30 years and have shared a similar mission and vision over that time. Together, DFSS and MOPD address the complex needs of older adults and people with disabilities through partnerships and linkages to resources including food, benefits, and other supportive services. We both believe that all Chicagoans, no matter their age or ability, should be able to access the services they need to help them live independently in their communities and their homes. Prior to the pandemic, we recognized the digital divide for our seniors, and when COVID-19 hit, our team had to work quickly to connect as many people as possible to the digital footprint of our programming so that they could stay connected and engaged and not suffer social isolation. Staff brought our programs and virtual communities online in record time. We work with organizations like Illinois Care Connects to distribute computers and provide internet access to older adults. We trained our seniors on how to use these devices and supported them through the stay-at-home period. Most importantly, we made sure they had access to us. And that dedication to access extends to all of our services. For individuals who are frail, homebound, and without family supports, services like our home delivered meals program, which provides a chance for us to bring the services to the people we serve. Annually, over 13,000 older adults receive nutritious meals, a well-being check, and regular connection to our drivers. Our senior health insurance program supports seniors and individuals with disabilities through education, counseling sessions, and guidance to find the right healthcare options for them, like Medicare Part D and Medicare saving accounts. Our Benefits Access Assistance Program allows residents to obtain financial resources, including the Senior Free Ride Transit Benefit Program, the Person with Disabilities Free Transit Rides, and the Secretary of State License Plate Discount. When individuals need an advocate, DFSS is a call away. Our Ombudsman program has a team of dedicated professionals that advocate for the rights and voices of seniors and individuals with disabilities that reside in or are looking for nursing homes or long-term care facilities. As we move forward, our DFSS will use over $11 million of American Recovery funding to further address social isolation and food insecurity among these populations. We will do this through increased congregate dining support, caregiver support, and counseling services, which can be held in person and online, as well as other supportive services. We are committed to serving individuals and in communities with dignity, and we resolve that to ensure accessibility for all of our residents. To learn more about this work and how to connect with our programs, you may call 312-744-4016. Again, 312-744-4016, or visit our website at chicago.gov/FSS. I'm proud to work alongside Commissioner Arfa and the Mayor's Office with People with Disabilities. I thank Mayor Lightfoot for her resolve and support for the communities we serve. Next, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Biaggi.
Good afternoon. So I'm Commissioner Biaggi of the Department of Transportation, and thank you so much for inviting us to be here today to be part of this celebration. So we call ourselves CDOT, Chicago Department of Transportation, and we play a pivotal role in making sure our city is accessible for people with disabilities. And it's our job to make sure that it's as easy as possible for people to move around their city, regardless of how they get around the city. It's a huge responsibility, and it's one we take very seriously. And that's why I have to thank first Mayor Lightfoot for her leadership that has helped us to center equity in our work, to focus on areas of our city that experience mobility hardship, where it's hard to move around, where we need to make improvements to our sidewalks, where we need to make better connections to public transit. So I thank her for her leadership and for that of Commissioner Arfa's at MOPD and her whole team for being incredible partners with us as we build and repair and expand transportation and infrastructure across our city. We've heard from residents, from mobility justice advocates, from all kinds of folks across the city that our sidewalks and transit are critical to making our city accessible and equitable. And we've not only centered our work around it, but we've come up with the funds, thanks to Mayor Lightfoot's Chicago Works construction program. We have the funds to make the investments to live up to those goals and that aspiration. In 2021, we completed more than 1,000 different sidewalk projects across the city to improve the quality of our sidewalks and make it easier to navigate. And this year, in our shared sidewalk program, we have over $4 million dedicated for 2,000 projects on top of that across the city. Also in this year's budget, another $8 million to address sidewalk hazards and more ADA ramps at intersections and at structures like bridges. We've also made investments in more than 500 projects at parks and libraries and other places that are polling places to make sure that the sidewalks are accessible, that we're getting those ramps in. We've never had this opportunity before with the budget and the will to make sure that our city is accessible for everyone. And I do want to add, we're also investing in 100 priority CTA bus stops around the city that need accessibility improvements. Here, we used data to prioritize where we have more people living with disabilities near those bus stops, making sure that we looked at how frequently the Chicago Transit Authority is deploying buses, and working with communities to make sure that the improvements we make their lives easier, better, and getting from where you are to where you need to be, the meaningful destinations in your life. That's our job, to help you get there. So you'll see a lot of work happening this summer all over town. And you may have come through the parking lot and seen our scooters out there. And I hope you take one for a test drive. We have, maybe, no, the mayor won't do it. But I hope you get a chance to do it, because we have one of the most incredible micromobility programs in the country, and it's not great if we don't make sure that it meets everyone's needs, provides everyone an opportunity to use micromobility options like our scooters. And so we have 3 companies out there, Lime, Spin, and Super Pedestrian, who are required to deploy seated scooters for at least 5% of their fleets. So that's about 150 scooters that we will keep rebalancing and add to the number of scooters that we'll have on the streets. So we need your feedback. So please try those out. We're learning together about what works, but making sure that even the people who do business with the city, you have to live up to our goals for accessibility and equity. So it's there's what we can do, and there's what we can require others to do, and you're seeing that happen just right here in the parking lot today. So again, I'm just so delighted and humbled to be here and to work together with all of you, and particularly the Mayor and Commissioner Arfa and the other departments you see here. So thank you so much for your partnership, and again to Commissioner Arfa for her work to really push us in making sure that we're making the investments that we need to, that makes life better for everyone in the city. So thank you, and with that, I'll introduce Commissioner Harkey.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Erin Harkey, Commissioner of the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, better known as DCASE. I'd like to thank Mayor Lightfoot and MOPD Commissioner Rachel Arfa for having me here today to celebrate Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And I want to echo the mayor's praise for Commissioner Arfa. I remember when she first started that first Zoom call that we had, and we were so excited to talk about the arts and accessibility, and I have found such a tremendous partner and friend and advocate in you, so I just want to say that I appreciate you very much. Mayor Lightfoot recognizes the important role that artists and cultural organizations play in bolstering the quality of life in our city and for all of our residents. She and I share the belief that revitalizing our city's arts and culture scene is essential to our post-pandemic recovery, and that the arts must be at the center of bringing Chicago back downtown and all of our 77 neighborhoods. In response to the pandemic, last year the city dedicated $100 million in funds to support the arts landscape, including Art 77, a recovery plan that leveraged over $60 million in initial funding to support local artists and creative industries. And our 2022 budget includes $26 million in new arts and culture investments, all told making Chicago one of the top major U.S. cities in government support for arts recovery and arts relief. The Art 77 recovery plan signals a new direction for Chicago's cultural policy, in which the arts are embedded in initiatives and strategies across city government. The plan seeks to expand access and participation in the arts citywide, prioritizes the employment of creative workers through city programs and services, and deepens public sector investment in the creative sector through financial support and through cultural policy. As part of Art 77, arts access is one of our core goals, and we're proud to partner with MOPD to launch a series of initiatives that will engage artists to create programs by and for people with disabilities. This includes the mural that you've heard of by artist Sam Kirk. DCASE will partner to create a mural on the exterior of the MOPD field office that illustrate what happens inside the building and celebrates Chicago's diverse disability community. It will also serve it to identify the building and provide recognition of city services for people with disabilities and seniors. Sam Kirk is actually here today. Want to wave? And she's here on site at the event to conduct some community engagement and collect ideas and feedback on the mural she will be designing that we hope to be installed later this year. DCASE and DPD will also implement, this is new news, an innovative artist in residency program that will activate the MOPD field office to serve, benefit, and engage artists and individuals with disabilities, and improve the relationship between city services and residents, and increase cultural accessibility for all Chicagoans. This program is generously supported by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. Mayor Lightfoot and DCASE have also designated 2022 as the Year of Chicago Dance, which will give me great pleasure to also reintroduce all of you to Reinventability, a dance group that creates dance performances and opportunities for individuals with disabilities who are often excluded. Dancing with Disability, curated by dancer and Reinventability's founder, LaDonna Friedman, embodies unique life experiences of today's dancers. In addition to the LaDonna Friedman, dancers today also include Ginger Lane, an award-winning choreographer and disability rights advocate who is also a member of the city's Cultural Advisory Council, so she provides leadership on a day-to-day basis to matters of arts and culture in our city. And Robbie Williams, a talented Latin dancer, singer, and poet. His spoken word performance, Am I My Pain, shares the struggles of recovery from a random act of violence. Also included in today's program is a fitting tribute to our celebration of Global Accessibility Awareness Day and Chicago's Year of Chicago Dance initiative, with an interactive performance on the Cupid Shuffle with students from the Illinois Center of Rehabilitation and Education, Roosevelt. I want to thank you again for having me here today, and please enjoy the rest of the festivities. I believe the mayor is going to take a tour, and we're encouraging all of you to please stick around for the dance performance.